morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
If you really want to be a cowboy, you need to do more than just wear the clothes and make sure your boots fit properly, especially if you ride rank horses.
When I came over her head, I peeled her bridle off of her head, and it was in my hand. I did a full 360 and landed on my feet, and then my...
Well, that's Master Team Roper and colt starter Severin Peterson, and he has the rest of that story today. And we are going to bring back a Baxter Black classic.
But hear me, though I'm a beginner, those plants feel pain. So it's hard to explain to someone who eats them for dinner.
A vegetarian's nightmare. Oh, yeah. And the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight's interesting. If you've been following Heartland this season, you'll know that Lou is planning to go back to her big job in New York City. And Doris Daly wrote a poem long before the Heartland script was done that probably could have been written for the show.
I kinda long to hear a cowboy's soft guitar and to feel a warm chinook upon my face.
All the consumers who insist on gluten-free food, do they really know what it means? Pretty interesting stuff on today's Rangeland News.
Are seeing a correlation between per capita consumption of wheat flour and increasing sales of gluten-free products.
On the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, a listener says, I'd like to start riding my horse in a Bozell. What can you tell me about how to do this? Well, I really do like the Bozell, but there are some really important aspects to riding a horse with one. And I'll visit with two outstanding horsemen from Texas, Benton Baldus and Hargis, after we load up and head home for Christmas with Myra Pierce.
We're rolling on home for Christmas, back to that little family farm, driving through those little towns decked in red and green, by a country church with a nativity scene, past the grain elevators, beadless highline poles, and a herd of Hereford cattle braced against the cold. We're rolling on home for Christmas, back to that little family farm. Got a wreath tied on the grill of our old Chevrolet. It's loaded down with presents like Santa's sleigh. We're singing Christmas carols with the radio. The prairie wind is howling and we're hoping for snow. The kids keep asking how many miles to go. Rolling on home for Christmas. Tomorrow we'll be sitting down to Grandma's pumpkin pie. Then Grandpa and the kids will saddle Thunder for a ride. There's a glow in the distance, we're just 20 miles away. Look there in the headlights, you can see the first snowflake. We're rolling on home for Christmas, back to that little family farm. Got a wreath tied on the grill of our old Chevrolet. It's loaded down with presents like Santa's sleigh. We're singing Christmas carols with the radio. Prairie wind is howling and we're hoping for snow. The kids keep asking how many miles to go. Rolling on home for Christmas. We're rolling on home, rolling on home, rolling on home for Christmas.
Well, Texas cowboy and trainer Ben Baldus has an incredible list of accomplishments in the performance horse world, his latest winning the Trainer's Challenge at the Chilliwack main event. And for many years, he started colts on the famous Wagner Ranch in Texas. And Hargis grew up in the saddle, working on ranches all over Texas. He was one of the first competitors in the Road to the Horse colt starting competition and at the main event.
I can't believe we're actually in Western Canada. Boy, you talk about Texas talent. Here's Ben Baldus and Van Hargis. Caught you in mid-conversation. How you doing, Van?
I'm good, Hugh. How are you been? You been well?
Well, for an old guy, I'm doing fine, yeah.
You're not as old as you always claim to be, by God.
Oh, you'd be surprised if you really knew all that.
Well, you shake your boots pretty good, though. That's pretty good.
Just tell that to my wife, okay? Yeah, you were in the Trainers Challenge right here in Chilliwack. Gosh, that's got to be 12 years ago or more now.
Don't say that long.
And you were also in almost the very first Road to the Horse.
Yes, sir. It was early in the Road to the Horse. Matter of fact, it was the first year they did it at Murfreesboro. Yes, sir.
That's right, in Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. So what mostly takes up your time now these days?
Still doing clinics and seminars. We try to stay home just enough to get some ponies rode, but we tend to get on the road as much as we can to try to help people with their horses on the road.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Lots of traveling. What about horses of your own at home?
You know, I've had to cut down quite a well. Actually, I actually own more horses now than I have in a long time. But the deal was we was going to get them and help get them marketed to somebody that needed them worse than I did. But unfortunately, sometimes it's hard for me to let go of them if I like them.
Do you take them on the road with you?
I don't anymore, no, sir. Believe it or not, Hugh, the reason I quit doing that was because people thought that if I carried my horses, that it was a trick horse. And, oh, well, he's had that horse. So I got to thinking, well, maybe I can lend more credibility to myself if I could show up on a horse I know absolutely nothing about and still get the job done on a horse that I've had maybe 5 minutes to learn anything about. The point is that horsemanship, if it's done correctly, should be fairly universal. And there's probably no better way to do that than to show up to town on a horse you don't know and do something pretty basic with it.
For sure. Yeah, you can tell a lot about a horseman by the way he handles a horse he's never seen before.
You bet.
An awful lot. So I'm guessing, Ben, that you and Van have probably seen each other before this moment here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where did you guys first get to know each other?
I've watched and followed Van for quite a while.
I didn't know that.
Where we've met, here this weekend visiting quite a bit, but I've watched him again at those other colt starting competitions and follow his website and different demonstrations he's done. I watched him with a cattle handling one the other day, did a great job, and it was fun to watch how he was teaching.
Yeah. And have you done more Trainers Challenges than this one?
This is the first one I've ever done.
Oh, you're telling me, but you were in that Project Cowboy
Yes,
a few
sir.
years ago.
Yes, sir. They put together Project Cowboy there in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
7 or 8 years ago now, and I competed in that.
Yeah. So how do you like doing this kind of thing?
It was fun. What we showed starting that colt is what we did there at the Wagner Ranch, starting their colts for 8 years on the ranch.
Right.
And it's fun to...
your turn's coming.
Yeah. It's fun to bring that to the public and demonstrate what we've done for all those years and help them see how smart a colt can be when they have the confidence and they're not afraid, how much they can learn and how fast they can go. So that was fun.
Well, when it was time to start those tough 2-year-olds at the Wagner Ranch, things got a little Western, and Ben tells us all about it when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. The mighty Wagner Ranch in Texas, known for big country, great cattle, good cowboys, and good but tough horses. Ben Baldus moved from Michigan to Texas, and one of his first jobs as a young cowboy was starting colts at the Wagner Ranch. Van Hargis and I listened intently as Ben told us all about it.
At the Wagner Ranch, I just can't imagine what kind of an experience and environment that might have been for starting colts. How many would you do in a day when you're there?
We'd do 10 a day.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
How would you go about it there for the process?
We would run those colts up out of the pasture, so those 30 fillies. There'd be 3 of us young guys starting those fillies. And we'd run them up from the pasture, run them through the chute, put a halter on them because, again, they're pretty wild, pretty waspy. And we'd lead them up to the pen and turn them loose. And the next day we'd get them out, and I'd like to use a pony horse or a saddle horse, and I'd sort my filly out, chase her to the round pen, put her in the round pen, work her, maybe rope her if I had to, but work her off my saddle horse just like you saw us do on the ground, but I'm using a saddle horse. The process, the speed's about the same as what you saw. And we do that for the first day, ride them in the round pen the first day, turn them back out. Second day, ride them in the round pen, go to the big round pen, turn them back out. Third day.
Would you have somebody else on a saddle horse in there with you for that first ride? Or?
No, sir. Oftentimes, like I had, a 3 or 4 year old gelding that just needed some riding. It might be a horse I was going to go show, but he needed some more riding, and I'd just leave him loose in the round pen.
Okay, yeah.
You know, he'd walk around and just do his job, and I'd just step on the colt or filly, and it might just turn and follow that gelding around.
Yeah.
You know, just 2 or 3 steps and get off.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is just always keeping those colts confident. Yeah. You know, so I'm not going to ask them too much on that first day. I just want them to have a really good experience and keep their confidence up.
Yeah.
And if they had a great experience, we'd step off and turn them loose.
How much time would you have them before the Cowboys would take them over?
1 week.
Man, oh man.
Yeah, so that 1 week, you know, we'd ride them inside a day, the big round pen a day, then go out to go outside and follow Wes O'Neill. He'd been there 58 years. He's a great old cowboy. And he'd get on his saddle horse, and us 3 guys on those broncs would just open the gate and follow him out through the pasture. And he'd be trotting along, and those broncs might pass him, and if they passed him, he'd holler, "Check the mail on your way back."
Oh, man.
We'd get him turned around and come back and bounce off his horse going the other way, and you're just petting on those babies and letting them just carry a guy, you know, carry a guy out through the pasture, and then they finally relax and settle down, and you're making a trail ride on them, you know, checking some fence, and turn around and bring them back, and we might tie them up then, you know, and let them stand tied for a little bit.
Well, we'll get back to Ben and Van after this song from a guy who was raised on a ranch not too far from where I'm sitting right now. And this song has kind of become a real favorite around this time of year in cattle country. Jeremy Willis and the Cows Don't Know It's Christmas.
It was 6 and I was 4. I woke up to the sound of a wood stove door and my dad throwing kindling on the burn. I jumped up and hit the floor, 'cause we'd hung our stockings on the night before, and those Christmas gifts were my only heart's concern. Dad was dressed, his big boots on, and I couldn't believe it that he wanted to get gone when Santa had been here some hours before. But Dad just smiled, shook his head, said, "Load my stocking when everything's fed. It's Christmas, but somebody's gotta do the chores." You see, the cows don't know it's Christmas. They can't help themselves, so it's up to us to care for all life creatures, great and small. There's hay to feed, troughs to thaw. When the chores are all finished, they will deck the halls. Yeah, those cows don't know it's Christmas time at all. No, sir. So it's up to us to care for all life creatures, great and small. There's hay to feed, troughs to thaw. When the chores are all finished, they will deck the halls. Yeah, those cows don't know it's Christmas time at all. Lessons learned, I'm older now. I got kids of my own and I teach them somehow to care for those who can't. 'Cause I believe if you went back to that day, hay in the manger where the little boy lay, 'cause someone did their chores on Christmas Eve. You see, the cows don't know it's Christmas, can't help themselves, so it's up to us to care for all life creatures, great and small. There's hay to feed, troughs to thaw. When the chores are all finished, they will deck the halls. Yeah, those cows don't know it's Christmas time at all. I said the cows don't know it's Christmas, can't help themselves, so it's up to us to care for all God's creatures, great and small. Say to feed, troughs to thaw. When the chores are all finished, they will deck the halls. Yeah, those cows don't know it's Christmas time at all. You see, them cows don't know it's Christmas time at all.
And now let's get back to Van Hargis and Ben Baldus.
What would you have on their heads when you're out there following Wes?
Oh, like just a soft hackamore or loping hackamore.
Something like what
that.
you're using here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep, something like that.
Kind of a nice deal. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Any really memorable adventures doing that where you got so far away you didn't know if you were coming back or how things went?
I got turned around one time out there. We were looking for a horse that was missing. and we couldn't find this horse, and I zigzagged through the mesquite on that 2,000 acres, and I got turned around and thought I was riding towards the road, and I hit the back fence.
Ooh, doesn't that really turn your head around?
It sure did.
Yeah.
It sure did.
I've had that happen on an overcast, foggy day where you can't see any landmarks, and following a bunch of cows and thinking I know what direction I'm going, and finally lost the cows in a bog or something. Now time to ride back, and my horse wants to go one way, and I think, no, partner, we got to go this way to go home. Well, trust that horse, and you'll come out to a big clearing or a meadow, and holy cow, this is totally opposite to where I thought we were going.
That's right.
It's a weird feeling.
Yes, sir.
It's amazing how they'll bring you home.
They will.
Yeah. Well, Ben, congratulations on winning the Trainers Challenge here. Hope we'll see you at more of them in the future. And Van, always good to see you too, partner.
Hugh, good to see you. And, if you don't mind me saying, I've been to a lot of these things. I'm competing in a lot of these things. And I've always looked for these guys that are just incredibly smooth. And that's what I'd like to say about Ben today. If I could give him any kind of compliment today, it was just such a remarkable job he did with his colt. But most importantly, from a horseman's perspective, I was very impressed with his very easy, smooth approach. And the other thing that I've noticed him saying several times was setting the horse up to be successful. Success is a habit. And if we really want our horses to be successful, we have to help them develop that habit because they don't know, right? So I really want to commend him. Ben, congratulations on doing such a good job on really setting your horse up to be successful.
Well, thank you, guys.
Yeah, it just works together, and timing and positioning is just so important. And when you're in the right place at the right time, it means so much to that colt, and I was just, really enjoyed watching it. So
thank you, Hugh.
Thank you, guys. Have a good trip back to Texas, and say hello to all our friends down there.
You bet.
Whether it's Texas or Canada's Peace River country, it doesn't matter where you're from, cowboys are cowboys. Got a real treat coming up. We'll bring back a Baxter Black classic, The Vegetarian's Nightmare, when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black, cowboy poet and starving cattle feeder, wishing all my compadres that listen to us on Spirit of the West with the one and only Hugh McLennan a mighty Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If your group or association is planning a meeting and are on a thrifty budget, check out Virtual Video Baxter. That's me. I'll video a personalized welcome, then furnish several humorous stories to run between your speakers. Sign books can be used as auction items. We've done rodeos, museums, bull sales, the Conservation Service. Use your imagination. Virtual Video Baxter. Give us a call, 800-654-2550 at baxterblack.com.
I was invited to speak to a vegetarian animal rights group one time, and I didn't know what exactly I could say to them, but then I read this story about this experiment a group of scientists had run that concluded that plants feel pain. Yes, pain. So armed with that information, I wrote them The Vegetarian's Nightmare. Ladies and diners, I make you a shameful, degrading confession. A deed of disgrace in the name of good taste. Though I did it, I meant no aggression. I had planted a garden last April and lovingly sang it a ballad. But later in June, beneath a full moon, forgive me, I wanted a salad. So I slipped out and fondled a carrot, caressing its feathery top. With the force of a brute, I tore out the root, and it quivered and came with a pop. And then laying my hand on a radish, I jerked, and it left a small crater. Then with the blade of my True Value spade, I exhumed a slumbering tater. Celery I plucked, I twisted a squash. Tomatoes were wincing in fear. I choked the romaine, it screamed out in pain. Their anguish was filling my ears. I finally came to the lettuce as it cringed at the top of the row. With one wicked slice, I beheaded it twice. As it writhed, I dealt a death blow. I butchered the onions and parsley. My hoe was all covered with gore. I chopped and I whacked without looking back. Then I stealthily slipped in the door. My bounty lay naked and dying. So I drowned them to snuff out their life. I sliced and I peeled as they thrashed, and they reeled on the cutting board under my knife. I violated tomatoes so their innards could never survive. I grated and ground till they made not a sound. Then I boiled the tater alive. I ate them. Forgive me, I'm sorry. But hear me, though I'm a beginner. Those plants feel pain, though it's hard to explain to someone who eats them for dinner. I intend to begin a crusade for plants' rights, including chickpeas, and the ACLU will be helping me too. In the meantime, please pass the blue cheese.
This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with the one and only Hugh McLennan. A mighty Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Looking for an ideal Christmas gift or stocking stuffer? How about a weekend pass to the 22nd Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 15th to 18th, 2018. A terrific list of entertainers, including Gary Prescott.
I once rode with the best of the cowboys back in the days of my youth.
Brian Salmon.
So who would pack the lantern? There are some buckaroos that would pack it tall and proud just like we need to do.
Tom Cole.
Out on the plains, an old cowboy sings a song to his herd.
The BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, evening concerts, a wonderful art and gear show, the Art of the West show and sale, workshops, and everything from guitar picking to saddle making. The best place to get all the details is bcchs.com, and for tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. Just ahead of the Rangeland news, here's another song that ranching folks can identify with, especially this time of year. This is R.W. Hampton's Long Canyon Christmas.
It's cold and windy up on the flats. Branson's got a foot of new snow. With the 12 that we got the first of last week, there's nowhere and no way to go. But you can't hardly snow in a cowboy. So I'll saddle all easy and ride. And down by the Cross L, across the dry Cimarron, there's a big dance in full sun tonight. It's another Long Canyon Christmas. I'm lonesome, but I'm doing fine. No, it's not the cold wind. I'm thinking about a baby boy at a long, long ago Christmas night. Say, would you look at that big shining star hanging high in the east on the rise? And I'm wishing that I could just follow that star like the three men the book said was wise. Oh, little cow town, no, you're not Bethlehem, but you're mighty inviting tonight. And before I ride down, gonna stay here a while, 'cause everything feels so right. It's another Long Canyon Christmas. I'm lonesome, but I'm doing fine. No, it's not the cold wind. I'm thinking about a baby boy at a long, long ago Christmas night. No, it's not the cold wind. I'm a-thinking about a baby boy at a long, long ago Christmas night. Sleep in heavenly peace.
Now the news of the Rangeland, a roundup of news and coming events from around the West.
Top of page 1, it says, if you go into a grocery store or check a restaurant menu, it's inevitable you'll see selections advertised as gluten-free. But really, what does that mean? Well, as most grain farmers know, gluten gives elasticity to dough, helping it rise and keep its shape, and it often gives the final product a chewy texture. And it's found in a wide array of foods made from wheat, rye, and barley. And that's the background. I just wonder if folks, who really insist on having gluten-free selections really know what it means. And with more on that story, here's Rod Bain.
Gluten-free food products. Is it more than a food trend? USDA economist Jennifer Bond says that while she has not studied potential correlations between changing consumer tastes and preferences and U.S. wheat consumption, she does note
the emergence of the gluten-free trend, which we are seeing a correlation between per capita consumption of wheat flour and increasing sales of gluten-free products.
And it appears the gluten-free trend is not just limited to our country.
Euromonitor has a study out that indicates they believe that world sales of gluten-free products is expected to increase over the next several years. So there is some thought that the trend extends beyond the U.S.
Bond adds some potential indicators of this trend may include acquisition of high-protein and gluten-free pasta manufacturing companies by major agribusinesses.
And so perhaps that's an indicator of sustained popularity.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
DuPont Industrial Biosciences, a unit of Dow DuPont Inc., said it halted operations at a 2-year-old ethanol plant and will sell it, dealing another blow to efforts to create biofuels without using food crops. The decision to shut down the Iowa plant comes as political winds are undercutting efforts to produce ethanol from plant waste and wood shavings. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency said they plan to lower the amount of cellulosic biofuels that need to be blended into the nation's fuels under a 2007 mandate, arguing the industry has not produced enough. But DuPont spent about $225 million to build the facility that used corn stalks and stems to make ethanol blended into gasoline, and the plant was designed to produce about 30 million gallons of gas a year. Well, higher finished weight per animal has been a trend for several years in the cattle industry, and regarding cattle, annually federally inspected carcasses weight, they increased 130 pounds or 17% in the 24 years from 1992 to 2016. That's an annual average increase of 5.5 pounds per carcass. In 2017, F1 steer carcass weight is projected to drop year over year by 13 to 14 pounds. Over the years, economic forces, genetic improvements, and modern management systems all have contributed to bigger carcasses. Well, there have been some catchy phrases used over the years to educate consumers on the quality of the beef we produce. Pasture to plate has been around for a while, and here's a new one: birth to burgers. Thanks to an ambitious Cargill Canadian Beef Sustainability Acceleration pilot, by the end of 2018, the company's customers should be one step closer to providing consumers with beef from operations that have been audited from birth to burger using an industry-developed sustainability standard. And the newest initiative will include only Canadian cattle, starting with animals processed at Cargill's and High River. Using the Canadian beef industry's existing radio frequency identification tag system, cattle will be tracked by the Beef Info Exchange System, BIXIS, from the time cattle producers tag them through processing at the Cargill High River plant. And verified beef production, VBP, overseen by the Beef Cattle Research Council and operated with the assistance of provincial cattle organizations, will be the first certification body utilized to audit cattle producers who choose to take part. And several well-known restaurant outlets and retailers, McDonald's Canada, Loblaw Companies, and the Swiss Chalet Rotisserie and Grill restaurant unit of Vaughan, Ontario, are Cargill customers that have originally participated in this pilot. There's lots of red cow and heifer sales still to come at the BC Livestock Co-op yards in British Columbia. You can get all the listings at bclivestock.bc.ca. And at the Innisfail Auction Market, of course, 2 horse sales a month, and they have pre-sort sales where the cattle are weighed on Sundays for the Monday sale, regular sales every Wednesday. And for more information, you can go to InnisfailAuctionMarket.com or give them a call at 1-800-710-3166. And now, the final item And Billy has told me so many times, make sure you proofread that before you send it. And man, it's so easy to hit the wrong letter on the keyboard and not notice it until it's too late. A little mistake at the recent fish and game banquet and Christmas party around here caused a few folks to lose their appetites. One of the items on the menu listed, it said, elf cutlets in butter sauce. And that's the Rangeland News. Coming up on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, a look at some of the important considerations for a rider who wants to start riding his horse in a Bozell, and a colorful cowboy adventure from Severin Peterson when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. You know, I've always admired a horse that's been started properly and progressed to where he works nicely in a Bozell, and a rider wants to know how to go about introducing his horse to that process, and that'll be the subject of the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File coming right up. Right now, here's a song that came out a few Christmases ago about another cowboy out looking for strays in the snow. This is Barry Ward.
I was in the arroyo gathering strays. You know, cowboys and cattle don't get holidays. Would have been finished except for one little guy kept leading me far away. He went up on the mesa across a ravine at the Indian ruins and the muddy red stream. So I stopped for a spell 'cause I was bone tired, and I guess I started to dream. I saw 3 painted horses, 3 dark-skinned men with masks made of clay and voices like wind, singing, we seek the soul of all that is good. We come bearing corn, water, and wood. Stop and behold all that is good, and give thanks for the corn, water, and wood. I'm just an old trail hound, I've always believed your boots and your saddle are all that you leave. No miracles happened, no angels appeared, but I swear 3 men were standing there. I shook myself over, had I been asleep. That's just 3 Pueblo children tending their sheep, and they yelled, Merry Christmas, as they brought me my stray, and their voices rang through the mesquite, singing, we seek the soul of all that is good. We come bearing corn, water, and wood. Stop and behold all that is good, and give thanks for the corn, water, and wood. Singing, we seek the soul of all that is good. We come bearing corn, water, and wood. Stop and behold all that is good, and give thanks for the corn, water, and wood. And give thanks for the corn, water, and wood.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
Experience the true spirit of the West at Canada's largest Western store, Irvine Tack and Western Wear. If you need a curb strap or a 4-star gooseneck trailer, you'll find it here. A saddle for every rider. Cutters, reiners, penners, trainers, working ranch cowboys, ropers. They have over 1,200 in stock. And they have Western wear for the entire family. And how about a gift card? Shop online at irvinesaddles.ca. Free shipping on orders of over $100. irvinesaddle.ca, 1-877-946-9494. I'd like to know more about working my horse in a hackamore, Bozell. I was wondering if you could give me some information on proper use of it when I'm riding him. How do I get my horse to give to it and come on the bit as he would with a snaffle? That's the question. And here's the comment. Okay, first off, I ride with a Bozell a lot. I've got a couple that fit pretty well, and I look at it mostly as preparation for moving a horse to a 2-rein and ultimately what we call straight up in the bridle. The Bozell works differently than a snaffle. In a snaffle, a horse somewhat depends on the rider's hands for support and balance, and if the snaffle process is done right over time, the horse depends less on the rider's hands and more on seat and legs and balance as he moves towards self-carriage. That's when I like to introduce the Bozell. And unlike the snaffle, the horse won't be working, in quotes, on the bit. You don't want him leaning on the Bozell at all. Because of the Bozell's design, you can't use steady or even contact. Its width and its weight carries the potential for a horse to become heavy and kind of numb if you use a steady pull with one or both reins. Instead, what you need is a rhythmic, light bumping motion rocking the Bozell across the horse's nose so there isn't anything fixed for him to brace against. Too much steady pressure can really burn out the brakes and you lose the whole effect. Like the snaffle, the reins of the McCarty are held in 2 hands. The McCarty, that single long rope that's tied to create a loop of rein at one side of the Bozell and a lead line at the other. And I like to take that McCarty usually and tuck it up under my shap belt, but you can also loop it and tie it to the saddle strings. But you'll almost exclusively use a direct rein. Hold your hands as wide as your hips and even slightly in front of the saddle horn, and lateral control of your horse's face and neck and shoulders will be achieved by extending your arms away from his midline and tugging out in a very steady but light rhythm. Now, once he understands the lateral cues, you can ask your horse for collection, and you'll probably use an alternate left-right motion on the reins to rock the Bozell side to side and slightly rearward by angling your hands towards the outside of your hips. And also remember to keep your hands in front of the saddle and work each rein independently. Anytime you feel your horse lighten his front end and carry himself in balance between the reins, just release all the contact to reward his effort. Focus on the basics and your horse will soon be accustomed to the feel and the function of the Bozell, and that's a big step in developing a good bridle horse. And for Irvine Saddles and Western Wear, that's the Horse Training File. Something else we find that sure helps our horses is that daily feeding of Hoffmans Horse Ration. Find out more at hoffmanshorseration.com. Looking for an ideal Christmas gift or stocking stuffer? How about a weekend pass to the 22nd Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 15th to 18th, 2018. A terrific list of entertainers, including Gary Prescott.
I once rode with the best of the cowboys back in the days of my youth.
Brian Salmon.
So who would pack the lantern? There are some buckaroos that would pack it tall and proud just like we need to do.
Tom Cole.
Out on the plains, an old cowboy sings a song to his herd.
The BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, evening concerts, a wonderful art and gear show, the Art of the West show and sale, workshops, and everything from guitar picking to saddle making. The best place to get all the details is bcchs.com, and for tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. Well, Severin Peterson's a good hand with horses, and I think as you hear this, he's probably at another big team roping championship. He's had a lot of success there, but he had a pretty tough colt at the October Trainers Challenge, and actually he hit the ground a couple of times in the final, but got back on and finished the course. Now, we had a chance to have a short visit just after the event, and I asked him if he could come up with one story from our not going the way I planned it category.
Yeah, I remember years ago there was a lady that has a barn about a half hour away from where we lived, and the horse had some pretty good flinching, would be reactive and take off bucking. So I didn't know I wasn't very well versed with ground skills then. At that point in my career, I was 20 years old, so I had a lot of vigor about me. And I got on this horse and some pigeons flew out of the building and this paint mare broke in half. When I came over her head, I peeled her bridle off of her head and it was in my hand. I did a full 360 and landed on my feet, and then my boots followed me to the ground. So I was standing there in my sock feet and got bucked plumb out of my boots.
My gosh, it can't happen. Well, anyway, congratulations on a great job, Severin. I hope we'll have time to sit down and talk for about an hour or so, because I know there's a lot more stories I'd like to get to.
Thank you, Hugh. I'd love to do that.
There are a few Christmas cowboy songs with this same title, and the one lined up for today is by the group Way Out West, and the title is Cowboy Christmas Eve.
Well, the hands are all back from the lion shacks. Summer pastures are covered with snow. Handmade gifts fill their saddle packs, all wrapped with ribbons and bows. Under a solstice moon they lope down to the ranch house of the brand. At the hitching post they dismount and enter hat in hand. Whoopee-tie-I-O, whoopee-tie-I-E. You can hear jingle bells, you can hear jingle balls when the cow posts decorate the tree. It's a cowboy Christmas Eve. Well, Lefty's trusty Colt 6 guns both have handles that broke. As a gift, Slim made him new ones, hand carved from hard mountain oak. No gift cost a leg or an arm. The gift of life gave all Christmas cheer. The toast to it came from their hearts. Despite stampedes, they'll greet a new year. Whoopee-tie-I-O, whoopee-tie-I-E. You can hear jingle bells, you can hear jingle bells, you can hear jingle balls, you can hear jingle balls when the cow pokes decorate the tree. It's a cowboy Christmas Eve. It's a cowboy Christmas Eve.
Coming up, one more song I think you're really going to like, and then the Julie Andrews of cowboy poetry, Doris Daly, when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Regarding our next Spirit of the West cruise through to the Maritimes and New England next September, we've added a post-cruise New York City package, and that includes 3 nights at a deluxe hotel close to Central Park, daily breakfast, good seats for a big league ball game, probably in Yankee Stadium, private guided tour of Manhattan, a live show on Broadway, a tour of the Empire State Building, Rockefeller Center, and much more. And Jim and Karen can give you all the details at 1-800-530-0033. 0131. Now, here's a song written by our great friend Curly Musgrave, who left us way too early, sung here by Butch Folk.
These old cowboy bones are weary from years of hanging on to ornery cayuses and memories long gone. I can barely hit the saddle when the morning cold prevails, and I've left the better parts of me on the many drives and trails. My thumbs are thrashed and throbbing, and my knees have long been gone. Crushed twixt fence and bucking colts when the breaking needed done. But it's not that I'm complaining, Lord, or wanting to turn tail, but I hear you calling for me, and I'd like one last trail. Lord, give me one last trail. Lord, give me one last ride before I hang my spurs and saddle and cross that last divide. Let me see one more sunrise, hear one more coyote's wail, praying one last sundown, riding one last trail. I've been blessed, Lord, like few others who would love the life I choose, that spend their life in high-rise walls on crowded avenues. But I just don't want to hang 'em up, though my body's getting frail, and I figure I've got wind enough to ride one last trail. Lord, give me one last trail. Grant me one last ride before I hang my spurs and saddle and cross that last divide. Let me see one more sunrise, hear one more coyote's wail, praying one last sundown, riding one last trail. I can't count the days I've tasted, near forgot when I was born. Names of ponies that I've mounted, except this roan I'm riding on. Partners' names will oft escape me, and my memories fade and fail. But I remember I'm a cowboy, so give me one last trail. Lord, give me one last trail. Grant me one last ride before I hang my spurs and saddle and cross that last divide. Let me see one more sunrise, hear one more coyote's wail, praying one last sundown, riding one last trail. Praying one last sundown, riding one last trail.
Now, if you've been watching the latest episodes of Heartland on Sunday evenings, and who hasn't, we see that it looks like Lou will be spending a lot of time in New York City. And Doris Daly wrote this a few years before the Heartland scripts were done. But boy, it could have been used in the show. This is Christmas in Alberta.
Sure is pretty here tonight. Excitement in the air. Busy shoppers hustle home through Central Park. The tree must be 10 stories tall in Rockefeller Square, and 1,000,000 lights are sparkling in the dark. Oh, it's a fast-paced life I'm living. It's first class all the way. Fancy office, fancy parties, fancy things. I'm shooting for the works, is what my friends all heard me say. And now, I dine with presidents and kings. It's glamorous, all right. Success and all the rest. And maybe it's this little skiff of snow. But tonight, I'm kinda lonesome for a little place out west and a cowboy down the road I used to know. I bet an opal moon shines on the eastern slopes tonight. The hills lie still beneath a snowy shawl. Chores are done, the porch light's on, a fire crackles bright, maybe Ian's singing at the Longview Hall. It's the symphony for me tonight, champagne and caviar, oh, the swirl and sway and sparkle of this place. But you know, I kinda long to hear a cowboy's soft guitar and to feel a warm chinook upon my face. Where'd she go? That little girl who used to live in cowboy boots, made sure each year that Rudolph got some hay. Oh, she's not gone far, just dresses now in silk designer suits and is living life the New York City way. Sure is pretty here tonight. Excitement in the air, a dab of French perfume, my cab is here. In the swirl and sway and sparkle, I say a little prayer. May it be Christmas in Alberta for me next year.
Well, thank you so much for making the ride today, and I sure hope you can join us right here next week at the same time when it will be our annual Christmas special. And thanks again to our great support crew, Mark and Kathy McMillan, for all kinds of help and for catching the glitches and jogging my memory and so much more. See Mark's page, bctractorparts.com, if you need tractor parts any make, any year. And check out the latest issue of Canadian Cowboy Country Magazine. You can subscribe online at cowboycountrymagazine.com or just give them a call, 1-800-943-7336. Like and share us on Facebook if you can. Until next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.